Hey, everybody, welcome to a new program in Drone Responders. This is our new public safety drone program interview program. And we're going to be talking to departments all across the country about what they're actually doing with their programs, how they're doing it, the challenges, all those things. And I'm pleased to say that I'm working with a friend of mine, Chuck Moran, with founder of Online Video Mastery, which is the backbone of this. And this is how we're powered by Online Video Mastery. But today we've got a special guest coming with us, Stephen Baxley from the Easley, South Carolina Police Department, who has recently started their Drone as a First Responder program. And for those of you who don't know what Drone as a First Responder is, it's where a drone is launched automatically from the dispatch of a 911 call, and in most cases gets there on the scene first and provides real live streaming video back to the police officers and the dispatchers so that they know really some intel before they arrive at the scene. And what we've seen across the country is it's become one of the biggest de-escalation tools in the law enforcement toolbox. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck and let him run with the show.
All right. Yeah. So as Charles mentioned, this is the inaugural voyage of our new interview series. And today we are excited to have Stephen Baxley with us. He is the award winner of our Outstanding Public Safety Drone Program for July 2023, and he is from the Easley, South Carolina Police Department. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you for having me.
And what's your rank, sir?
I'm just an officer. I'm the chief pilot and the DFR program manager for the agency.
All right, great. All right, well, I'm going to run through some questions with you. Some of these came from our Drone Responders Award questionnaire that earned you the award. So these should be familiar questions to you. So why don't you just talk a little bit off the top about how the program got started, how many pilots you've got, how many drones you've got?
Yeah, so I've been in law enforcement for 23 years, and as a certified officer, and I was working with another agency that I'd started a drone program with, and I live in the city of Easley, and I wanted to really explore the DFR program. So I knew we had a new chief that had just started at Easley, and I knew the mayor. So I started working around and kind of made some discussion and transition over to the Easley PD. And I went into the office with the chief, Chief Whitten at the time, one day and said, "Hey, I've got a proposal for you." So I told him quickly about what DFR was, and he was this kind of guy that had his hair on fire. He was really progressive, but I told him, 2-liners on what a DFR program was and what the thought was, and this is probably in April or May of 2022, and he said, "Love it, let's do it." That's pretty much what I got. And he's like, "What do we need to do?" And I said, "Well, if you'll let me roll with it, I'll keep filling you in." So we started working on it. And so we had already kind of had what we now call we've got our drone program split into two different kind of verticals, if you will. We've got the DFR program, and then we've got what we call our tactical drone program. Our tactical drone program is really the traditional drone. That's where we have drones in the trunk. We operate under Part 107, whether it be a Mavic system on a warrant service or whether it's an interior system. And then we have the DFR program. And so we started working on the DFR segment, if you will, and we started working with Paladin, and the guys, Divvy and those guys at Paladin, really worked with us and help us get we worked together to kind of develop our DFR BVLOS ConOps, and we presented it, and we were I think we were actually the first agency that did not have to do a conference and discuss the ConOps, and we got it within 2 weeks, after submitting it. And we base that, with us in Easley, it's a little challenging because we're a 14 square mile town. We're kind of a rural suburbia type thing, but we don't have any tall buildings at all. We might have a 2 or a 3-story building somewhere in the city, but we're mostly flat, all Class G airspace. So we don't have the convenience of a tall building to get on top of to deconflict the airspace and fly from. So we had to figure out how to kind of do this from a ground launch. It's the only option we had. So we looked at having a network of visual observers on the ground. So we certified all our officers. That was what we proposed. All of our firefighters presented to all those guys, and then so we started the DFR program that way after we got our approval, and then launched an M300 with a Paladin LTE module. And initially, what we requested from the FAA was only a 3-mile radius from our fire department. That was our launch point. So we, in the ConOps, we said, hey, we're going to use this one launch point. Here's the address, and we're going to do a 3-mile radius around it, which kind of didn't really work for us because it was only covering a little segment of the city, and it wasn't really a busy area. So we did that for a couple months, and it was okay, but from that location. But before they actually approved and sent it back, they kind of increased our request, and they gave us the entire city. So they came back and said, you don't have to worry about the 3 miles. We're going to give you the entire incorporated limits of the city of Easley, your 14 square miles. So essentially you can fly anywhere in that 14 square miles as long as you got your network of visual observers and so forth. So we were like, this is going to be a little hairy, a little hard, a little more difficult. So we have to figure out how to do it. But we've been able to figure it out over time and kind of make it work somewhat. It's very cumbersome. It's not a long term. It doesn't really help us in the staffing. Matter of fact, we have to have a lot more staffing to make it work. That's the restrictions, of what we got to do with the deconfliction. But that's kind of the story of how it started.
Yeah, that is amazing.
The big change over the course of this last year, we've had it for a little over a year now. We've had our waiver. I think we got it in July of 22, and 4 or 5 months in, I sent an email to the ConOps group and said, hey, I want to see if there's a possibility that I could, that we could have ad hoc departure locations. So there's no, doesn't make sense for us to continue to take off from here. We need a centralized location in the city or multiple locations. And they essentially just sent us an email back and said, it's approved.
Wow.
Don't have to do anything. It's already approved. No need to resubmit our COA. And so now we have a centralized location that really works a whole lot better for us. And it's proven to be a success because we can arrive on scene before a patrol car or fire truck 90% of the time.
That's great.
When we're launching.
So you're operating under both the COA and the Part 107, right?
Yeah. So we, our operations guideline, our SOP really it focuses on if we're doing any type of tactical launch, meaning we're launching a drone traditionally, it's 100% we operate under 107. The only time we operate under COA is if we are running our DFR program.
Gotcha. Yeah. And how many aircraft and how many pilots?
We now have 10 pilots. So we got our last 2 guys in June or July tested and passed. So we've got 10 pilots now. We've got 7 aircraft in the pipeline, everything from an M300, which is our DFR program platform, all the way down through a Nevada kit for tactical SWAT entry.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. So I was just looking back at your responses to the questions that we asked on our award program questionnaire, and we asked you the question, how has your drone program been innovative for your department? You had one word for us, Stephen, incredibly.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, incredibly. Yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was one of those things when I came over to the department, we had there was a drone in play, the one that was there, and this wasn't really used properly. Nobody really had any idea. It wasn't being used properly. So we were able to, after I got there, introduce the correct way to run a program and things that we needed to do, and then through some use case and getting everyone in the agency involved in what the drone does and demonstrating it to them, built confidence. So once that confidence got built and everybody understood what it was capable of, it become that tool almost like our K9. So we've got a K9, we've got our crime scene guys. Now we've got a drone guy or a drone team is what we wound up with now. So, we had a rash of missing persons come through where we would have, I think in 1 month we had 3 or 4 missing persons, and we found all of them, not necessarily with a drone, but we were, in most cases it might be a walk off or something like that, an elderly walk off, but we've been able to locate them, or a teenager that kind of runs away.
Yeah. So
we had some great success with, being able to launch and get on scene and at least get in the air really quickly and show that component and that technology and show the community, the victims' families that we have other tools. So that generated some positive feedback in the community. So that's been great. But probably our tipping point was around Christmas time. 8 or 9 months ago, we had a kind of I call it a reverse drive-by shooting, is what happened. So it was a drive-by, but instead of the car shooting into the house was shooting at the car.
Oh my gosh.
Drive-by situation. So caused the car to wreck. And because of the situation, we knew the guy was, or, at the time he was in the house. This is in 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so the SWAT team got toned out. And then we had not really started to participate heavily with our SWAT team. Our SWAT team isn't very active. We're a small agency, but we do have an 8-man SWAT team, and they got out and they were, they come to kind of brief, and they said, we don't, we're pretty sure this guy's in the house. We need to get a drone pilot here. So they started calling everybody, and I got woke up and got there and got on the scene. The chief's there, and chief's like, I want you to put that drone in the house. It's time to put up or shut up. Let's put this drone in the house and see what it does. I don't want my guys going in there first. We want to breach it. So we did a brief. We planned and put a Mini 2 at the time, and then a 360 around the house. Guys breached the doors. I was coming around the AB side, and they breached the door, stepped back, and I was able to clear the house in about 1 minute. And they were able to watch live what was going on. And we had somebody, giving comms. And that was the turning point.
Wow.
Luckily, the guy was not in the house. He left at some point before we had the perimeter set up, and we kind of been sitting on a dead house. But the good thing is we didn't have any surprises. It was a small house, but 1 minute clearing that house perfectly. We got lucky; all the doors were open, all the rooms.
Jeez.
And so from that morning, that debrief was like, we're not ever going into a house or a business ever without the drone first. So that was a proof concept, and so that really helped and works for us. So.
Wow. Charles, do you have any follow-on questions about that incident?
No, I think what's interesting is we see the same things in most departments. Is there's this reluctance about drones. They think of them as toys. They don't see a value. And then you have this aha moment.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, okay, we're not doing that ever again without a drone. And then it gets to be where you're doing DFR and that kind of stuff, and the drone isn't there. People are like, where's the drone?
Right. Absolutely.
Because it provides information. We've said this repeatedly, that there's 3 things that really happen with drones. Is they enhance the safety of everybody involved. The second thing is they improve your operational effectiveness because you're making decisions with more information. And third is that real live situational awareness you just can't beat. So not surprised, but I'm glad to see that things are continuing to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. That is really amazing. Are there any other incident stories like that you would like to share?
I wouldn't say there's any great aha moments. We've had some good success stories, but I always like to, especially when I get to talk to the public and talking to community events, because in most cases we want to really talk about what the DFR program can do to help the community, and not everybody's looking at, hey, can it get on the call and catch a bad guy? What can it do to reduce costs? What can it do to make everybody safer? So we look at the positive impact of that, and some of the successes we've had there has been able to get the DFR drone to a scene and realize that we have, we've got fire en route code 3. We probably got 3 pieces of apparatus code 3 across the city, and incredibly backed up traffic, which is all dangerous. It's a risk. Every time you turn on red lights and a siren or blue lights and a siren, it's a risk. Anytime that we can get eyes on the scene and reduce that response, cancel that response, put those guys back in service, it reduces our cost and reduces that risk. So we've been able to do that more than anything. That's probably been our biggest success, probably daily. Every time daily when we do fly the DFR system, that's our biggest success, is being able to get proper response to scenes, or decline other response that's not necessary, unnecessary response, if you will.
So I've got 2 questions for you. One is your community outreach. You've seen early on that seemed to be very important to you, and how has that been received by the public?
So, so a lot of people ask, and I know a lot of agencies are, and there's some recommendation out there, and I think it's all based on the community or based on where you're really at. So, it's the reality is it's probably based on your state, your city, your community, and what kind of how it's made up. But we decided not to talk to really the community about it before we ever launched a drone program or a DFR program. We didn't go out and do anything. We kind of briefed the mayor and the council and told them what we were doing. They loved the idea of it. We've got a very conservative, we're in South Carolina. We've got a conservative council. We've got a conservative base here. So we don't have some of the other concerns that may be out there with different things politically. So we decided not to do anything with that. So what we did is we waited until we got the program going, and we wanted to start talking about, hey, we've got this. This is our new DFR. It really hit really well with media. We got a lot of media attention. You've probably seen, we've probably had 3 or 4 different media articles come out. We've gotten some different awards. We've been able to also engage through our library, which is odd because kind of cool, because our library, we went to our county library, which is one of the branches is located in the city, and it's almost centralized in the city. It's a huge, beautiful building. And we're like, this is the perfect place for us to launch our DFR from because it's centralized. And it's kind of in the center of our call area. And so we went and talked to them and explained what it was and said, hey, we just want to be able to, use the back parking lot, the employee parking lot to do this. And we need a power outlet. And would you mind? And they're like, are you kidding? We love this. This is like the best thing ever. And before I could walk out, after I got the approval, they hit me up. They're like, hey, we want to have, this summer, we want to have you come in and do some segments to the community, because we have 200 or 300 people that could show up to these summer events, and we want to do a program. So we've done that a couple of times, and super well received. We had kids all the way up to, I had a gentleman that was in his 90s that showed up that just absolutely loved the technology and the thought. He showed up and sat on the front row and heckled me with questions, not in a good way. He was so interested and wanted to know everything from how it operates to, legality and, Fourth Amendment things and all that. He had all the concerns, but he really loved the idea of what it could do. So it's been great, received great by the community. So we haven't had any complaints. Matter of fact, anytime we do anything on social media, we like to, we go back and look through our social media and our comments, and the only people that ever say anything or heckle you on there are people that don't even live here.
Nope.
They live thousands of miles away typically.
Yeah, that's the typical response. My second question is, so how has this been received and used by the fire department?
So the fire department we dispatch for the fire department. So our primary dispatch center. So it's kind of the same thing. We if a fire call comes in, we get that simulcast and we'll go and we'll run that fire call, whether it be a fire alarm or whatnot. So it's been great for that because we can get on the scene and we can just let them know, hey, there's no smoke showing. We can do a 360 for them. We give them some ideas. So it's been very positive even for the fire department as well. So we're just able to give that communication back to them.
Very cool.
Yeah, that really is cool. A couple other questions about your launch of the program. I love that idea that it sounded like you had all of your ducks in a row, but one key question I've got is, did you have your policy all nailed down, and was that available for the public to see somehow?
So we worked on our policy before we absolutely before we launched the DFR program, because we wanted to, we had a policy in place that was already integrated into our current policy platform, and it was not very good. It was a very generic written policy from like LexisNexis or something like that, and I did not like it. Talked to the chief about it with concerns, and we decided to take a policy that I had, pieced together over time that was probably like 12 pages, very complex. I call it an operating policy from my previous agency. And that's the way that agency worked. It was everything, your policy, you operate within your policy, had everything. It tells you how to do your job. The chief did not like that. So what we decided to do was take a lot of content out of it, leave the base, and then move over a lot of our operational stuff to an operating policy or operating guideline, really, a SOP or an SOG. And that way we can change it and make alterations as we figure out things need to improve or work a different way. And that's been the best thing for us. So we moved our policy down to a couple of pages and then launched that out. And of course, that's always available to the public if they'd like to see it. And then we put one segment in there specifically about DFR, drone first responder, and really what that comes down to is it talks about when we are running that DFR system, it is 100% responsive to calls for service. We don't use that drone or that system to do anything else. We could have an operation going on elsewhere in the city, a warrant service or anything like that. That is 100% got to be run by another pilot on another system under our tactical program. So we really wanted to say, hey, this system is there just for calls for service, for response to calls. And then B, we really wanted to allay the fact that, we're not just flying, randomly through the city, looking down in people's backyards. We fly with our response from launch location to the call with our camera on horizon. We don't lower the drone camera down until we get to the scene, or if there's a need to before we get there to see a suspect leaving. And I always talk about that. It's one of the first things I talk about. And you kind of see people in some of the community events, I want to ask that question, and I go ahead and throw that out there, and then you just kind of see everybody kind of sits back and relaxes because they're going to ask that question. I can almost see it in their eyes, and I know that's coming. And we go ahead and get that out there, and then we just never have any negative questions from that point. So,
man, I just real quick, I love that nuance of not lowering the camera down until you arrive on the scene. I mean, that just right off, and then you get to explain what that's all about anyway.
Yeah,
how you actually lower it down. You can really talk about the advantages of, being able to see, because we're using a wide angle lens, but, no, we're not flying over your house. We're not, we have a slogan that we're promoting here in Charlottesville, which is, if you see one of our drones in the air, we're on a mission.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all there is to it, period.
Yeah, a lot of times we get that question. They're like, what are you doing with the footage? You're recording, and we tell everybody we don't record. We don't record when we take off, and we don't record every single call. That's just not. We got that in the policy as well. We have in our policy that it's up to the pilot to start recording when he gets to a scene and decides that scene has data or some film that he needs for some reason. He feels like that's evidentiary value, then he can start recording. But we don't record otherwise. And I kind of explained that. I said that's like driving around with body camera on all the time, 24/7, or your camera in your patrol car. And right. I said, we just don't drive around recording everything. I said, there's a lot of technology behind that where it can pre-record and do some other things. I said, but we don't do that. And I said, we don't care. We don't just drive around looking at everything. We've got things to do. The same thing when we're flying. If we're on a mission, we don't care what's going on at your house if we're not called there. So we really talk about that, and that's always received positively as well, because I think sometimes people just think that's what we're doing. We're just up there flying around looking at things.
Yeah. Random surveillance. They're worried about random surveillance. That's
exactly.
That's the ACLU's number one concern is random surveillance.
Absolutely. And, I always tell them, I'm like, we can fly for 30 or 40 minutes per set of batteries. And, I said, we don't know when a call's coming in. So if we're up flying, we're not flying willy-nilly just for fun, and we're not looking at anything. We are flying because we've got a call and we've got a reason to be in the air. And otherwise we're going to be on the ground because we want to preserve that endurance and that flight time for the next call that could be something that saves a life. So that piece of information really sets everybody at ease.
So let me change gears for a minute. You've been really active in the Drones of First Responder Working Group. And I wanted to know, what do you think, how's that helped, you think, overall in the country as far as being able to be a part of a larger group?
I think it's huge. I don't do a lot of conversation on there, but I get on there and I listen and I hear what's going on. I see, I'm in the email stream, and it's great information being able to be shared back and forth. I love hearing what's going on at the founders at, Chula Vista, those folks, and then Lieutenant Ayana at Brookhaven, and hearing what these guys have going on. And then, hearing the new agencies that are coming on and what they've, they're already kind of like us. They've already had some experience already, or maybe they've been flying for a while and nobody even knew that they had a DFR program. So that's been great. And then just being able to share, best practices, hear some of these things. I feel lucky and privileged that we don't have quite that difficult of time because we don't have the ACLU breathing down our neck like some of the larger agencies and in different cities and states do. So we've been fortunate from that. So So it's just good information to understand. And then, of course, I have by us having a program, we've entertained and interviewed and consulted with many agencies across the country, and I can give a broader spectrum of kind of what to expect or potentially what to look for, not just my experience. So I can give the experience of others and have them prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think the good point you make is that all these DFR programs are a little bit different.
Absolutely.
So that's the nice thing about it, is it doesn't have to. It's not a one show or one program fits all. It's really you deciding how you're going to use this for your locality.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. I know, one thing that we get commonly asked is, and it's probably, I think this might be one of the questions that you'll ask, and I'll go ahead and hit it off, is, what would you relay to an agency that might be interested in coming on board? And
I was just
really,
getting ready to ask that.
yeah. So, it's, what would you tell them? And what I've been telling everybody that I'm talking to right now is, like, the technology is moving so fast, the operational standards are moving so fast, that you really need to not look at what you don't want to look at this, what you can do right now. You really want to look at what do you want your program to look like if you could do it exactly the way you want it today. What do you want that program to look like? And you need to start looking forward to that and figuring out how to get to there now, using what's in play. You could have a rooftop launch location with a 3-mile radius. You could have a program like ours where you're a ground launch and have a series of VOs, or you could do it, like Pearland and some other agencies that are using, Iris, Cassia G now. And we're working with helping the guys up in Asheville, North Carolina, work with this. And then they're going to be their next step, is moving to, they want a true remote system where they can have a remote pilot somewhere. They can actually have one of their officers, at home, and he can be operating the DFR system from home, and then everything is just covered by
Technology.
Yeah, technology. And that's the way this is going to work for us. The only way it makes sense. And Asheville is grasping that. They already have 60, they only have 60% of their force right now. They can't do like we're doing and go say, yeah, we can put 20 officers out randomly around the city just to watch the drone. They could have those officers answering calls. So that's where it hurts us. It doesn't make sense for that. We need to have some relief, especially in our area where we're all Class G airspace. We have very low risk. We're flying at 200 feet. We're flying a drone system that has great, safety redundancy. It's low risk. We should have some capability to be a little bit more lenient in that case. And I think if we could get that, it could be way more beneficial to public safety agencies. And I think that's where we need to be.
Well, there is some exciting new developments that are coming. So the IRIS-G kind of broke the ceiling, kind of opened that door with the FAA. But there are some other technologies that are coming that are going to be far more widespread, some opportunities that may not require installation of any technology.
Nice.
And if that all comes to fruition, we're going to have that truly autonomous type of operation that you're suggesting. But I always ask people, since I've been a fire chief and I talk to people that are incident commanders, would you ever have your incident commander make decisions with their eyes closed?
Exactly.
And I said, because without using the drone, you're doing just that. You're not seeing things that are going to make a difference for the safety of everybody that's involved in the incident.
Right. Absolutely. That's a fantastic analogy. So,
yeah, I like that. Very good. Yeah. So Charles, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about drone responders and what benefits they might be able to get by joining?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, droneresponders.org is a nonprofit program, the largest and leading in the world to advance public safety UAS. And we do that by having one of the largest online resource centers that has over 800 documents of SOPs, procedures, policies. We have a drone as a first responder folder with subfolders that go through everything from ConOps, safety case, etc. Again, we're trying to do it so that we can advance technology more quickly by people being able to learn from those who've come in front of you, just like what Stephen Baxley's done today, is sharing his background for doing that. We're doing webinars with the FAA the second Wednesday of every month at 4 p.m. You can register for that, but join droneresponders.org. You get all this information up front. We also have the largest global public safety drone directory and dashboard. And as I mentioned earlier with talking with Stephen, he's a part of, as many other agencies are, we have over 100 people involved in the Drone as a First Responder Working Group. And we meet monthly to share what's happening between each of the different programs. And that helps to actually, all the work that we've done collectively, Stephen, is we've moved the process of approvals for DFR from a year to weeks. And it's been phenomenal. So droneresponders.org is the place to go. Membership is free. All the resources are free. All the webinars are free. And today we launched this new program where we're going to dig into some of the programs and share it with you even more. And so I thank my partner, Chuck Moran, with the founder of Online Video Mastery, for helping make this happen.
Yeah, well, thank you, Charles. And certainly thank you, Stephen. Really appreciate you helping us kick off this inaugural program. And once again, congratulations on your outstanding Public Safety Drone Program Award for July of 2023. We certainly look forward to working with you more in the future. And one quick thing I want to make a note of for any departments that are thinking about starting their program, we are putting together a package that will help you get everything from your policy to your public awareness campaign off the ground properly. So it's in development. By the time this video is released, it'll probably still be in development, frankly, but we're working hard on that, and hope to have that out shortly. And I think that'll make it easy for a number of departments to just go, okay, well, I'll just get that program. It's going to be in a box, basically everything you need to get your departmental program off the ground properly. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Anybody have anything else they want to add as we close?
Nope. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be here today and for the award. So thank you very much for what you guys do for us.
A lot more to come.
Yes, sir.